We are looking at inland fisheries and the lack of access in the case of Gariep Dam. Gariep Dam is in the center of South Africa, on the Orange River. Is the biggest dam that we have in South Africa. And I call upon Sadia Kadwa from LRC to read the charge sheet.
Thanks, Carmen, and morning, everybody. Morning. This is the second session of the Fisher People's Tribunal in South Africa. So the first applicant and claimant are the Novaspalt community in the Northern Cape. The second applicant and claimants are the Venterstad community of the Eastern Cape. And against them are the accused, the first accused and the respondent is the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment. The second accused and respondent is the Eastern Cape's Parks and Tourism Agency, ECPTA. The third accused and respondent is the Free State Provincial Government. And the fourth respondent is the Sunrose Group. The fifth respondent is the Forever Gariep Resort. And the sixth respondent is the Otterkloof Private Game Reserve. This is set down for the hearing on the 13th of August, 2024. The respondents are charged, and I'll read the charge sheets. 1, the first respondent's failure to protect and promote the applicant's right to food, freedom of trade, tradition, and dignity in failing to ensure reasonable access to the available resources by 1, failing to ensure that inland fishers are able to access traditional and other fishing grounds by imposing unreasonable access fees. 2, by unreasonably closing off areas in which inland fishers traditionally had access to. 3, failing to implement the inland fisheries policy within a reasonable time. 4, the first and second respondents' failure to protect the dignity and livelihoods of the applicants by allowing the criminalization of their legitimate livelihood activities by the unreasonable failing to recognize their rights to fish. The applicants therefore seek the following orders. 1, that the first and second respondent must immediately take steps to ensure that reasonable access of the applicants to their traditional fishing grounds is granted. 2, the first and second respondents must immediately take steps to ensure that inland fishers have their rights to fish protected pending the implementation of the inland fisheries policy. 3, the first respondent must take steps to ensure that the inland fisheries policy is implemented. 4, the first, second, and third respondent will meet with law enforcement and prosecutors to agree to a moratorium on prosecution of inland fishers for legitimately exercising their small-scale fishing rights. 5, the first, second, and third respondent must engage with the fourth to sixth respondents to obtain reasonable access for the applicants to traditional fishing grounds under the control of the fourth to sixth respondents. And 6, further or alternative relief that the jurors deem appropriate in the circumstances. Thank you.
Thank you, Sadia. I call now Mfundo Ketwa from Novaspalt in the Northern Cape, Eva Yantis from Venterstad, Eastern Cape, and Jeremiah Jordan also from Venterstad to please come in front and give your testimony. Mfundo, you can start.
Okay, thank you. Manthathe elithuba ndibulise konke umuntu okhoyo apha.
Let me take this moment to greet everyone.
Igama lami ke mina ke ndingumfundo Elvis Kethwa. Ndihlala eNorthwest Point eNorthern Cape.
His name is Mpundo Ketwa. He is from Northern Cape in an area called Noble Spot.
I-Norval Spont ke yindawo encinci kakhulu ene-population yabantu aba-plus minus 2,000.
This area is an area of small population. They are about,
Plus minus 2,000 people.
plus minus 2,000 community members.
Yindawo ese-center between i-Free State kunye ne-Eastern Cape.
They are in the center between the two provinces, Eastern Cape and Free State.
Xa uya e-Eastern Cape ungahamba i-500 miles.
From where he comes from, it's about 500 miles to Eastern Cape,
And then ukuya e-Free State is about 200 miles walk.
and then it's about 200 miles walk from where he stays to Free State.
Apha ekulobeni ke ndaziswa lixhego lam elingasekhoyo.
I was introduced to fishing by my late father.
Zesilobela kumlambo i-Orange River, dama elikhulu e-South Africa.
We used to fish from the biggest river in South Africa called the Orange River.
Sithe sisaloba ke apho kwafumaniseka ukuba kule ndawo siloba kuyo yindawo yase-nature reserve.
And then the area that we used to fish on or from, it was now regarded as a nature reserve area.
Sasuswa ke ngokunyanzeliswa ukuba i-dangerous lo ndawo xa kuvulelwa amanzi abantu badla ngokuhamba ngemilambo because abayiva i-siren okanye i-alarm ewonisha ukuba amanzi ayavulelwa.
We were moved from fishing from this area because of the fact that it was so dangerous for us. As they were opening up the dam wall, we could not hear the warning signs, so we were told that we need not to fish there anymore.
Sasiwa kwenye indawo idama ke ngoku because le besiloba kuyo yi-river, Orange River, sasiwa edameni lase-Gariep Dam.
And then we were diverted to fish from to Gariep Dam.
Elo dama ke beli-ownwa yi-Department of Water and Sanitation.
The dam now was owned by the Department of Water and Sanitation.
Sivumelekile ukuloba anytime esifuna ukuloba ngalo.
We were able to fish anytime as we wish as fishers.
Kwel dama, el-Gariep Dam beli-divided into two. Kunekala elezilwanyana, bekunedrati ehamba phezu kwamanzi.
This area where we fished at now, it was divided into two. There was an area allocated for wild animals because there was a fence that was separating the two sides of the river, of the dam.
Silobela kwelqala ke thina li-safe lase-water and sanitation.
We're fishing from the side of water and sanitation because it was regarded as a safe place to fish from.
Kwenzeka ke ukuba iwe le draft ishare into i-nature reserve ne-sanitation.
Unfortunately, the dam, the fence that separates the two, it fell down.
So kwanyanzeleka ukuba ngoku ezazilwanyana zase-nature ziwelele kwelqala.
That resulted now to the fish, that resulted now to the wild animals moving from where they were allocated, moving to the area which was regarded as a safe area for them to fish.
Sakhutshwa ke ngoku athiwa laa ndawo iyonke ngoku iwela phantsi kwe-nature reserve.
That resulted to us as fishers now being forced away or put away from the area because now the area was classified as a nature reserve because of the movement of animals.
Kanyanzela uba sibuyele back siye kumhlaba osezantsi khona apha kwi-Orange River ebesiloba nakuwo.
Now we moved from Gariep area now to another place along the river which we used to fish from in the past.
Xa sifikayo ngoku phaa kulaa ndawo besiloba kuyo sekokhiwe ngoku i-lodge, i-watch bank lodge.
When we went back to this area now, we found out that there is already some establishment. There was a lodge built in an area that we used to fish from.
Nikhumbule ke ukuba ukuloba kuthi asikuba kuchitha isithukuthezi ngumsebenzi.
You should be reminded that fishing is not about playing, or we're not just for fun. We're not fishing for fun. Fishing is part of work.
Xa siloba sizama ukubeka ukutya phezu kwetafile for kwiifamily zethu.
By fishing, we are able to provide food for our own families.
Ngoku kunyanzelekile ngoku kuba amanzi xa esihla wase-Orange River xa iflow yamanzi isihla abantu bahambe bayolobela in the middle yento ye-river,
Now that
which is dangerous.
Now that we are fishing from the river, the more the water level goes down, it means that we have to go inside the river, which puts our lives at risk because it is so dangerous to do so.
So sahlala phansi singabalobi sathi masibetheni imali ikhona enye indawo illegal engenwa kuyo ese nature reserve kuthiwa igama lale ndawo kuse nature reserve kodwa salikhumbula ngoku igama lakhona.
We met as fishers, we discussed an alternative or some ways of accessing the fishing site, and then we decided to collect some funds in order for us to have transport to take us to an area which is inside the nature reserve where we were able to fish.
Ibizwa ngokuba i-brevater.
What betekent that in English? The area that now they were to fish from, it's part of the nature reserve, but the name is in Afrikaans.
I-entrance fee yaphaya ke imoto ngongena it's 100 rand.
Yes, an entrance fee. If you are using a vehicle, you must pay 100 rand for the vehicle.
Umntu opha phakathi it's either nibangaphi inhloko yomntu is 20 rand.
The vehicle is 100 rand. Each and every passenger in that particular vehicle is 20 rand per person.
Uyafika ungene ke phaya ulobe ixesha lakhona is 7 up until 5 o'clock funeka niphumile.
You are allowed to fish between 7 o'clock in the morning up until 5 in the afternoon.
Kuyenzeka ke uhlale imini yonke pha ulobe uphume nenhlanzi ezimbini.
You can get inside there, and then for the whole day you will be able to get only 2 fishes a day.
Cinga imali ongene ngayo it's 100 rand nemali yonhloko yomntu uphuma nenhlanzi ezimbini uzawuthengisa inhlanzi ngemalini uzawugena uyaluza instead yokuba mawuwin.
Just think you have spent money, you have paid 100 rand for the transport, you paid 20 rand as a passenger, and then here you are able to get only 2 species per day. And then now here than to benefit you are losing because you are spending more on what you're supposed to get.
Ingxaki ke esicelayo since le community yethu incinci kakhulu because icrime ingapha kwamandla ngoku.
Yes, the area where I'm coming from, we are faced by, there's a challenge of social ill. Crime is part of the, because of the fact that we are in this situation, the level of crime has risen.
Ngoku sicela sibuyiselwe back kulaa ndawo besiloba kuya se-water and sanitation kufakwe i-fence i-nature reserve benecala layo sikwazi uloba kweli besiloba kulo thina ngaphambili.
We would like to go back to where we used to fish. They must put up the fence that separates the wild animals from the area where we used to fish so that we can go back and fish there.
Ngokwenene i-Orange River is very dangerous for ukuloba.
Yes, it's quite true that Orange River is too dangerous for fishers.
Siluze imiphefumulo yabantu ababini kule Orange River.
We have lost 2 lives in the same Orange River.
Abalobi ke phofu.
These are the fishers.
Saluza imimoya yabantu 11
They
kule
were,
Orange River.
we also lost about 11 lives in the same Orange River.
Kuba ababantu baza bengazi ukuba amanzi avulelwa xesha bani bafika zi-traditional healers. Safike zangena phakathi emanzini zoyenza lonto le xa bakuvulelwa amanzi basweleka bonke bathathwa ngamanzi.
What happened is they came to practice their cultural practices or their traditional healers. When they went to the river, they were not aware that the day in which they went there is the day they were to open up the slides. So that was the major reason why they were swept away by the river.
So siyacela kakhulu siyacela hayi kakubi because sisonqena ukwenza izinto eziphuma ecaleni because kwabanye bethu abanganayo imali yokubheka eBrevater.
We are appealing because there are those of us who don't have means and ways to go to this area where one pays 100 rand for the transport and 20 rand for the passenger.
Bayaya pha water and sanitation bavula umngxuma bangene balobe.
Some of the community members, they go to the nature reserve. What they do, will cut or they will just dig and in order for them to get inside the nature reserve, which is against the law.
Xa babhaqwe ngabantu abasebenza e-nature reserve bathathelwa i-fishing gears, bathathelwa nezo ntlanzi, bahambe bayovalelwa eVenterstad, kwisele zaseVenterstad.
Because of the fact that they don't have means to use the transport to go to the area, then they will have this shortcut. If they are arrested, they will take their fishing equipment, then they will be sent to the cells in Venderstad.
So inye nje into sicela nje i-access, akho nto engamandla sifuna nje i-access kweza ndawo besiqhela ukulobela kuzo.
We don't need much. We only need an access into areas that we used to fish from.
Because nyani abantu abaninzi abake baya kula macala bayazi le ndawo ndihlala kuyo, uthi ungena nje ubona i-poverty.
For those of you who know where I'm coming from, by the time you get to my community, you could see the reflection, you could see that there is poverty in the community.
Akho nto eninzi esiyifunayo ke sinicela ukuba nisenzele yona, sicela nje i-access.
We don't need that much. What we all need is to have an access to the fishing site.
Thank you.
That's it.
Goeiemôre almal. My naam
Morning,
is
everybody.
Eva Jantjies, ek is van Venterstad in die Oos-Kaap.
My name is Eva Jantjies and I'm from.
Visservrou van die inland.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Eva Jansen and I'm from
Venterstad.
Venterstad in the Eastern Cape.
Ek is 'n visservrou. Ek vang vis om 'n lewe vir myself te maak.
I'm a fisherwoman and I catch fish to make a living for myself.
Ek is 'n ma van 4 kinders en 13 kleinkinders.
I'm a mother of 4 children and 13 grandchildren.
Die rede hoekom ek belangstel om vis te vang, want dit is 'n inkomste vir my kinders en my kleinkinders.
The reason why I catch fish, it's because it's an income for me and my children as well as my grandchildren.
My seentjie was 5 jaar oud toe ek begin vis vang.
My son was 5 years old when I started catching fish.
En is vandag 30 jaar terug.
And today it's like 30 years back.
En die rede hoekom ek so bekommerd is oor my kinders om te gaan rivier toe om vis te gaan vang, sodat hulle kan iets hê om te eet op die tafel.
One of the reasons why I'm so worried is for my children to go to the river, to go fish for themselves, to have something for the table.
En is 'n bietjie 'n moeilike saak om by die rivier uit te kom.
It's very difficult for us to get to the river.
Om van my huis af te loop tot by die rivier is 5 kilos.
To walk from my house to the river, it's about 5 kilometers.
En is nie 'n maklike saak nie, want ek loop al van kleins af so met my kinders daai 5 kilos.
And it's not easy because I've been walking with my small children this 5 kilometers.
Is nie lekker om te sien wanneer jou kinders droë pap eet nie.
And it's not nice to see when your children are having dry porridge to eat.
Dis hoekom dat ek vandag as 'n ouma en 'n ma is vir hulle uitstaan om rivier toe te gaan. Ek is bereid om my 5 kilos te loop.
And that is one of the reasons why I, as a mother and a grandmother, is willing to walk those 5 kilometers so that I can feed my family.
Maar vir die winter het dit 'n bietjie moeilik gegaan, want in die winter is dit baie moeilik om vis te kan vang.
But during the winter months, it's very difficult because it's difficult to catch fish during those winter months.
Jy gaan rivier toe om vis te gaan vang, maar as 'n saakie van bid of jy kan vandag 1 of 2 visse kry om op die tafel te sit.
But it's a case of prayer when you go to the river because you are not sure if you're going to catch anything for the day.
En ek is 'n enkel vrou.
I'm a single woman.
Ek het vee gehad.
I had some livestock.
So 3-4 jaar gelede wat my vee net so verdwyn het.
But 3 or 4 years back, my livestock just disappeared.
Want dit is ook 'n inkomste wat ek gehad het.
And that was an alternative income for me.
Ek is nog maar besig om ook 'n tuin te maak.
I'm also busy doing gardening.
Dis waar ek ook vir my 'n lewe maak om iets vir ons op die tafel te sit wat ons kan geniet.
That is also some of the ways that I make money to put food on the table for my family to eat.
Een ding van Nigel wat 'n bietjie seer maak,
One thing that hurts me a lot is
daar was 'n leer om oor die draad, om op die leer om aan die kant die draad oor te gaan.
there was a ladder put for our fishers to get over the fence,
Maar hulle het dit nou weggeneem
but it was taken away.
en dit is vir ons 'n bietjie baie moeilik om van die huis af te stap, reg af van die pad en af om by die hek te kom en dan rivier toe te loop.
And it's making our life difficult because now we have to walk down the road into the gates, and then only we can walk back to the river.
Ja, is 'n bietjie moeilik want die ander ding is die as ons baie keer by die rivier is, dan voel ons wil maar vir ons nie dat ons hout maak in die reservate nie, laat ons maar die hout wat die rivier uitgestoot het optel, maar is nog nie goed in hulle oë in nie. Wanneer ons by die hek kom, dan neem hulle dit weg van ons af.
So sometimes when we go to the river, we pick up some of the woods that was brought down, or that came down with the river, but even that is a problem for the people of the park, because now when we get to the gate, even those wood that came down with the river is taken from us.
En as ons miskien vir hulle mooi vra, laat hulle maar vir ons die hout los, want die ding is, ons het nou nie eens krag by die huis om vir die kinders 'n pot op die vuur te sit nie, maar weier hulle teen dit ook om dit vir ons te gee, dat ons dit kan huis toe neem.
So sometimes we have to plead with the officials to allow us to take this wood home, because oftentimes we don't even have electricity at home to cook, so we use the wood. But even though in those times, they won't allow us to take the wood.
En waar ons vis vang in die onderkanten, daar is nie regtig vis nie. Die vis byt nie so maklik soos wat dit op kom weer byt nie. Ons dit vang nie, maar dit byt nie maklik soos wat dit op kom weer byt nie.
It doesn't, it's say sometimes when they have to catch fish at the bottom, the fish doesn't bite as well as in the other place.
En die space waar ons gewoonlik vang aan die onderkanten is baie klein.
And the space at the bottom of the river, it's very small for the amount of fishes.
Ja. As ons probeer om kom weer toe te gaan, maar as ons kom weer toe gaan, dan moet ons 'n fees betaal om daar deur te gaan by die hek.
So there's a specific place that they call Komveer. So when they go to Komveer, they have to pay a fee to get into the gate.
As jy 'n ryding vat om kom weer toe te gaan, dit kos jou R100.
So when you ask someone to take you there with a vehicle, it costs you around about R100, which is roughly about $5.
En die fees by die hek is R31.
And then there's another fees of about 31 Rand that you have to pay at the gate.
As R131.
So it's about 131 Rand that you need to pay.
En dit gaan nie daaroor dat jy self vis kry nie.
But the problem is that you don't know if you're going to get some fish.
Partykeer gaan dit goed, partykeer gaan dit nie goed nie.
So some days the fish is there and it's good, but then you get those days that the fish simply don't bite.
En ek as 'n moeder met kinders,
And myself as a mother with children,
dan voel ek 'n bietjie seer vir die R100 wat ek moes uitgehaal het, aangesien ek nie vis gekry het nie.
it hurts me that I had to take out that money and I didn't catch anything.
Want ek kon die R100 gevat het wat ek gebruik het om by die vis kom weer uit te kom, kon ek vir hulle iets anders gekoop het om op die tafel te sit.
Because that same money that I lost without catching fish, I could have used it to buy something else to put on the table.
As al wat ek wil hê, ek wil net hê ons moet tog asseblief met vryheid kan by kom weer gaan vis vang, sonder om 'n fees te betaal.
So my only cry is that we can have free access to our fishing grounds without paying anything.
Dat is die begeerte van mijn hart.
And that's the cry of my heart.
Tot zover, dank je.
Thank you very much.
Ja, gaan maar zelf gooien. Gaan try om te gooien. Ja, gaat stoot. Good morning, everybody. I'm Jeremiah Jordan. I'm an inland small-scale fisher. I was introduced to fishing by my father and my uncles as a child. My father, before the nature reserve was established, my father worked on one of those farms, which was being bought by government. So I'm going to start with what fishing means to us as inland small-scale fishers. We regard fishing as a work because our livelihoods are depending on it. And in order for us to sustain the livelihoods of our families, work is necessary. Fishing is also essential for our fishing communities because it contributes towards food security and nutrition, economic development, and for the well-being of our communities. Then socio-economic challenges and impacts we as fishers encountered on the inland. Racism are being perpetuated because if you are a so-called colored, then you must not be listening to and also not deserve an employment opportunity. Hence, our children are becoming poachers, beggars, suicidal, prostitutes, primary school dropouts, and failing to finish high school. High employment rate, majority of people are working on extended public works programs and community works programs for a stipend of 900, which they are getting for working for 8 days per month. Many households are relying on SASSA children grants, disability grants, foster grants, or old age grants, which is sometimes the only income. Some people are working on the surrounding farms where they are being chased away anytime the farmers wants, and also where they are exposed to racism, all types of abuses, and being traumatized by being shot at with guns by the farmers. Crime, stock theft, vandalism, and rape, and also domestic violence are prevalent on the inland. Cases to be presented at this tribunal. Access, my colleague already spoke about access. I just want to add to it. We as fishers are being marginalized because we are not being given the right to exercise or to choose our occupation and trade. A fisher must pay in order to have access to the workplace, which are inside the nature reserve, and commercial farmers that's farming adjacent to the nature reserve are dictating to the Eastern Cape Parks and Tourism Agency which fishing sites must be zoned for fishing activities. But during hunting season, there are no restrictions or confinements to some areas in the nature reserve. Fishing are restricted to an activity that can only be done during the day and at designated fishing sites. Limited access to our traditional fishing sites, and also not allowed to do our customary overnight fishing. Influence of researchers are not benefiting the fishers because they are making recommendations, and their recommendations are being implemented without consulting the fishing communities that is living adjacent to the nature reserves. And then harassment. A woman was held at gunpoint, threatened and pushed to the ground with a rifle by one of the field rangers. Fishing gear are being taken or confiscated, and fines of 500 rand was issued to the fishers. Thanks to the intervention of MDT and LRC, the cases was dismissed, but not all the confiscated items was received in good condition. Sometimes fish are being taken by some of the field rangers and shared among their own families and friends. Then fishers are left with nothing. Then we also have a water pollution case. In Venterstad, we have one water purification plant, and then on the other side of the river in Overston, we have another purification plant there. But those two plants are not working for almost 10 years now. So the Joe Gabi municipality are responsible for the purification plants. They are not maintaining the purification plants, and they are not making or ensuring that their workers are making sure that they put in the necessary stuff. I don't know what they call it, but to kill the germs and whatever, because it's raw material. Usually, according to some of the workers there or the employees, they put in chemicals. But now, most of the time, both of those two purification plants are overflowing. So when it's overflowing, it flows straight into a glitch. So that glitch goes straight to the river. Now all those raw fisheries are flowing into the river for 10 years. And sometimes when the river are not full, then the fisheries water stops below the two breaches. So now when the rain comes, then the rain push all those fisheries water into the river. So that side, which is section D, was designated by ECPTA, which is Eastern Cape Park and Tourism Agency, for fishing activities. So that water are green. It's very greenish. And then sometimes you see a lot of things in the water which is not clean. And when fishers are fishing there, they usually catch small fish in comparison to all the other traditional fishing sites. So now it was never established that fishes got sick because of the sewage water that is flowing into the river. But the fishes are complaining. And we have engaged with the municipality for years now, and they never did something in order to stop the sewage purification plant to overflow. So it does have an impact because sometimes, especially in the winter, when you go there, you don't catch fish. And in terms of the amount of fish which the fishes are catching, it's sometimes unacceptable because, I mean, if a fisher are going to the river, it means that you must spend. You buy food, you must buy bait and stuff. So now when you go to the river and you catch nothing, you come back home. Sometimes because of unemployment, you go back and maybe you borrow some money from the shebeen owners or the money lenders, then you can't pay the money back. Now what the money lenders do is that they adopt you. Then now you become a slave to them, which means you must go to the river under their instructions. So when you catch fish, you must bring it directly to them. Yeah, so it's a very big challenge. But in terms of this water pollution, it must be stopped. Seriously, it must be stopped. Because once the water stays there under the bridge, there's a lot of catfish under the bridge. Now it means that they are drinking that water, they are eating whatever is inside that water, and when the rain comes, it pushes those fish, all of them, into the river. Now, some of the fishes, they do catch some of those fish, which is, I think, very unhealthy for the fishes. So it's an insult and disrespect to the fishes. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremiah, Eva, and Fundo. I want to note for the tribunal that the Department of Fisheries, Forestry and Environment, as well as the Eastern Cape Park Authority and the other respondents were invited to come and address and respond. The Department of Fisheries declined to come. The ECPTA, Eastern Cape Park Authority, never replied to the invitation. But now let's open for the jury to ask questions of clarity and additional information where you need it, and also comments. Professor Ruche.
Hello, good morning. I had a few questions. One question was just about, because you've talked about the limited access and the distance that people have to go. Can you maybe talk about how that has impacted older fishers, fishers with disability, and fishers with other kinds of issues? That how do you know concrete examples of how that has impacted different categories of fishers? A second question, people talk about historical rights and traditional rights. Could you explain what that right meant in regards to inland fishing, and whether women also had equal rights historically to these areas, just so that I get a better sense of the impact on women? Did women lose more rights now, or did they gain more rights now? And then my last question, it's really about I know that there's an inland policy implementation plan, 2023, Is it already being implemented? Is it in the future? And to the extent that you know about this plan, is this the answer? Or does the plan make things worse? And was there any impact? I'm back to the impact assessment of the plan. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. I'm going to translate.
Usisi phayana into ayifunayo kokuqala uchaphazele umgama othi uhanjwe ngabantu ukhona ukuze umuntu akwazi uyofikelela kuloo ndawo yowuloba. Ufuna uqonda uba ngaba ichaphazela kanjani lo mgama uhanjwayo kunoluhlu lwabantu okanye kukho iindidi zabantu abalobayo, abanye bakhubazekile, abanye badala. Lo mgama uhambayo ngaba bachaphazela kanjani? And then kumba wesibini ngumba wonto bana abantu bathi le ndawo yindawo ebekade beloba kuzo ngaphambili. Ingaba loo nto leyo mhlawumbi ibachaphazela umthelela enawo ngakumbi kubantu abangomama? Ingaba mhlawumbi kanye bona abantu abangomama kukhona ukuphucuka kwento kubana noko ilungelo lwabo bakwazi ulisebenzisa okanye liye lancitshwa ngakumbi? And then kwakhona enye into ayivezayo phayana yile nto bangaba kukhona le nkqubo-mgomo okanye le polisi iqulunqwayo for abantu abaloba emadameni okanye kwimilambo. Ingaba mhlawumbi kanye yimpendulo besiyifuna leyo okanye into mhlawumbi nayo efikileyo yancedisa okanye nayo ifike yacinezela? Inkosi.
Ndizawuzama ukuchaphazela kwecala lomgama omde ohanjwayo.
I will respond to the question of the distance.
Le ndawo yethu sicangweGqili kakhulu. Sikufutshane kuneGqili eNorthern.
We are so close to the
River.
Orange River. We are close to Orange River.
Since kuye kathiwa singaphinde silobele phaa, ngoku kufuneka sihambe umgama omde ukuyongena kulaa ndawo singavumelanga ukuba singene kuyo besiloba kuyo ngaphambili eyi-water and sanitation.
Now that we are not allowed to fish along the Orange River, we have been diverted to fish in an area which is under the supervision of water and sanitation.
Iyabachaphazela kakhulu ke because ikude, iyabachaphazela abantu because ikude funeka uhambe kwasi ekuseni apha ilanga lingekaveli.
Yeah, like the impact it causes is that you have to wake up in the early hours of the morning so that you can walk in the early hours of the morning.
Uphinde ubuye kwa late.
And then on the way back, you must come back late.
So yingxaki kakhulu indaba ye distance yokuba sifumane indawo yokuloba. Iyachaphazela kakhulu.
Distance is an issue.
Enkosi. Kwecala lethu kwindaba yabantu abakhubazekileyo asinabo kakhulu apha eNorthern abahambayo bayoloba.
Okay. From the area of Noble Respond, there is no one who is like disabled who's doing fishing.
Yiloo nto ke sithi xa sifumene inhlanzi sibacingele abantu abakhubazekileyo sibaphe, asithengisi nje singabaphi abantu abangathathi izintweni.
What we do in Noble Respond, for those of which who are disabled or those of which who can't afford, whatever that we have, and then if we have a surplus, we'll share with them because they don't have means. That's it.
I just want to respond to the question of the distance. Yeah, now I'm speaking on behalf of the Fishers of Venterstad. The river at section D are not that far from the community. What the community wants is they want free access because they cannot pay excess fees. We as fishers are family. We are a family. We look out for each other. So in terms of how we will get to the further sites or further traditional fishing sites is that if the government or the agency can do away with the excess fees, then it means that we will try as fishers to accommodate everyone in the community by trying to put some money or the little money we have together and organize maybe a transport. Yeah. And then on the other hand is that we have indigenous people in South Africa. And indigenous people are qualifying for subsidies. So the majority of fishers are indigenous. So it's an injustice to the fishers if government cannot try to accommodate the fishers by subsidizing the fishers. And then the other thing, in terms of the customary fishing rights, there was never really a time in the history of South Africa that we were having rights. I think that rights was there prior to colonialism. So during colonialism, that rights of us was taken away and not considered. Yeah, so they knew that we were having rights. We were having customary rights. And I mean, the river, which is, was named afterwards during colonialism, Orange River, is Gariep. If we stayed there, I mean, it was our land. It means we were having our rights. We could have gone to the river and fish whenever we wanted. We know fishing very well. And now the government comes and they say, okay, we are restricting you to fish only during the day. While we as fishers knows that the majority of us, especially me, I like to fish at night. Because during night hours, you catch a big fish. Yeah. The big ones comes at night. During the day, they go back. So now you struggle to get the big ones. You must settle for the small ones. Yeah. So I think we know what our rights was. Yes. It's just that we've been intoxicated not to know which our rights, what is our customary rights. Yeah. I hope it.
Thanks. So I will just give some context around the inland fisheries policy and they'll, when it was implemented and around the implementation plan as well. So up until 2022, there was no legislation governing inland fisheries in South Africa. So this policy is very new, and this policy was meant to implement and for recognizing inland fisheries in our inland waters and dams. So some of the challenges around the implementation plan. So the implementation plan started last year, April. And so the major issue that fishers experience with this implementation plan is that access rights, so rights that will be granted to them for accessing traditional sites for fishing for free, this will only be granted to them in 2027. So up until now, there are no provisional measures to cater for and to provide for fishers in the meantime, and this is always their cry or their plea to the department. And so what the department wants to do is to draft a national legislation first But the problem is this, is that they'll have to go to each and every province in South Africa where there are inland bodies and try and get a consensus to draft, one policy altogether. And this is why it's taking so long and the time. And in the meantime, fishers, they don't have any access, so they have to pay conservation fees or they have to fish in a river. And as we heard from one of the fishers, that sometimes the fishing spots at the river, like in Norvalspont, it can be very dangerous. So this is the challenges they face, and paying for access is just the major issue, because as fishers and fishers coming from communities where they don't have much, it is very taxing to still have to pay, and you're not even guaranteed fish back on that day. So that's just around the national policy.
Thanks, Jordan. Before we go to the next questions, I want to ask my colleagues to just maybe give a little bit of an explanation of what do we mean, this question of impact has come yesterday and also today. And I think it will be good maybe to give a brief explanation in the local languages about what do we mean by impact. I think the jury really wants to understand how these challenges, what is the result of your everyday life? What are the consequences of these violations when it comes to your life every day? So if we can explain this a little bit in Africa, in Xhosa first and then Afrikaans, just so that everyone in the room fully understands what this question of impact means.
Xa sithetha nge-impact bantu benkosi, sithetha ngomthelela okanye uchaphazeleka, ichaphazela njani? Babuza uba ngaba uchaphazela kanjani wena ungumlobi. Zininzi indlela abantu abachaphazeleka ngazo zonke into sizibekayo. Xa usithi awuvunyelwa ungene, loo nto ichaphazela njani? Awuzuba nandlela uthini yobeka ukutya phezu kwetafile. Abanye abantu indlala izawuya ikhula. Umthelela ngenye indlela oyibiza ngayo, kodwa kuchaphazeleka. Yabo, funeke sizame bafuna uba ngaba phayana babuze uba ngaba nazo izingxaki uzibekile, ingaba loo nto inefuthe. Yabona ngophinde ndibize enye igama, ne? Kumthelela, kuchaphazeleka, ifuthe elifaka kuwe lithini? Funeke utyatyadule uchaze ubana xa besenza ngolu hlobo ndiyachaneka mna ngolu hlobo nangolu hlobo. Uyaqonda? Ibeke ingxaki, ubeke noba ngaba le ngxaki bayenzayo yenza ifuthe elinjani ngokwendlela mna endiphila ngayo, khona ukuze napha kubo ikwazi ucaca nokubana xa kuthiwa kuwe sungena kule ndawo ikati izolala eziko. Nathi ndayifuna kakhulu. Enkosi.
Ja, so basies wat die jury wil weet is, hoe impak die dinge wat julle van praat, hoe impak het jou lewe? Bijvoorbeeld, als we praat van die distance, wat je zo ver moet lopen, hoe impak het voor jou? Wat de impact heeft het op je alledaagse leven? Die feit dat je moet geld altijd geven, die feit dat je moet ver lopen. Baie van onze mensen is oud. Ik meen, is nou al een moeder van hoeveel jaar, ze is nou oor die 30 jaar wat ze zo moet ver lopen en zo. So, wat is basis wil weten, ik zie in je hand, is dat, wat is de impact van die dingen waar ons verdacht of voor die week bij de tribunal is? Whether het die policy is, whether het access tot jouw vissinggronden is, whether het climate change is, of al die cases wat ons gaan bepraat hieroor. Ons gaan nog praten over die impacten van olie en gas en allemaal die dingen. So basis wat ons wil weten is, hoe beïnvloedt het jouw leven, jouw dagelijkse leven, jouw familiese leven, jouw gemeenschapse leven? Baie dankie.
Thanks, Boise and Jono. Gianni, please go ahead.
I thank very much for all the information and the testimonies. I am asking possibly, I don't know whether there's a legitimate question from the point of view of my understanding of different things. I think that the accent and this clearly the most important has been on the limitation or the violation of the rights of the fishers communities for different things in the inland things. But there was a main point also indictment, but in the priority that on one side is the violation of the rights. On the other side, I understand that the beginning, or at least one of the main causes, has been the privatization of those inland territories. So the problem is more on one side to defend the rights of the people, but then why not to control the access of the privates? Because that is a problem of the recognizing the citizenship of, there is a kind of, say, economic apartheid, which is applied to the fisher community. For the fisher community, the land and the river and the water is not simply a place where to live, but that is the right to food, to life, because that is what matters for the fisher community. But if there is not a control of the private use of those waters, it would be important from the government, because you are looking for the government, but nothing for the private, because you don't have access, because you can't accuse privates of having the lands, because that is a recognized right by the government. So I think that would be one key issue in order also to link the struggle for rights of the fisher community to the struggles of other communities of the land of the South Africa for the control of resources, because that would be something for the farmers and other things. Thanks.
Thanks, Johnny. And I think on this one, it's important to really note how the the leases that many of these farmers have are 50, 100 years long leases. So they are still in place from many years before. In particular, in Norwest Pond, there was this case of this lodge where fishers used to be able to access, but then the lease was sold to another company, the Washbank Lodge I'm talking about. And this new owner of the lease, they decided that they didn't want to allow for fishers to go in anymore, also because they established a lodge in that same place. And so people that come as tourists, recreational fishers will be able to fish, while fishers now are cut out from that. So the issue of privately owned land is one that is very important to the issue of inland communities, because almost everywhere, when it comes to the rivers, they are situated, the water is public in South Africa, the rivers belong to the state, but all the land up to the river is being allocated to privately owned or the state, and that also means that while you could access the water in theory as a citizen, the way you get to the water, it's what becomes challenging. I don't know if you want to add more. Maybe because we do have inland fishers from other communities in the room, so Jacob, you want to say something on this issue?
Good morning. There's something that bothers me. I don't understand what's going on here. I'm not here to support anybody's feeling. I'm here to bring a plea. I'm mandated by my people back home, by our people back home. So I must give them a report. So our challenge, the people of Venterstar, they are staying upstream, and we're staying downstream in the Orange River. So that impact you are talking about must ask us clearly. What impact did it have on our lives? It has a very big impact. We're staying 45 km from the river, from the dams, and then we must go down and pay transport to go there. We don't work with our feet. And with these farmers alongside the river system, these people intimidate us. we are supposed, by those places that we are supposed to catch our fish, let me make it very clear. There's two fishes, what I'm talking about. One, the crawl fisher, you see for this thing, it's a crawl fisher. And the other one is what do you call the hanger fisher? What do you call it in English?
Angling.
Tangling fisher. So the hanger fisher get it very difficult after crawl fisher because it is escaping what you call it in English. You escape with a net. We catch the fish with a net. That is the life of a crawl fisher. And the angler one is the one that is going to the dams, to the final clue of them. Now, these properties, those, don't let me call white men, those people down there, they privatize everything. They don't want to talk to us. They deny us entry. The Department of Water Affairs and Sanitation did us very badly. When it comes to our historical right, we was the one, our forefathers, did angle there, did go catch fish there. They broke that promise to us. And I'm a front runner of the democratic revolution. I hear someone, some of the jury talk about this morning about how are we going to sort the problem. Yeah, the problem is sorted. In this election, we spoke to them. We spoke to everyone in government. We don't go to your voting station. We don't vote anymore. Because the government didn't implement our rights. They don't listen to the people. So we spoke to them in a silent language by not going to the voting stations. The problem is sorted. And I hear from the jury, from this big old man, I want the jury to help me, to help my people back there. When we are old men, like you, Ndate, when we are old men, we want an aqua farm where we can teach our children about fishing. I don't want anymore, when I'm get 60 years old, to go to the dams anymore. I want to go to a fishing farm. Because why? There is a lot of water there. There is a lot of ground there. Our municipality, the Department of what do you call it, transport, they got a lot of ground there. We don't have a problem. All we want is, it is for you, jury, to find a way. Took the South African government to court and give us their papers so that in order we can get our guys in the local government, especially national. They must represent us. They didn't do it. Now we are left behind. When we talk, we are not right. I'm not talking about individualism. No, I'm talking for my people. Because I'm going to be the only generation that is going to talk about this. Because the generation behind my back, they don't care. Do something for us. Help us, Bruce. Jury, I must go back to my people to give them a report. I'm asking for help. We are not playing games here.
Baie dankie, Jacobus. I do want to remind you all that the jury is a panel of experts that are come here to advise us. They are not government. They can advise us how to move forward, but we are here in this tribunal to also take power ourselves as fishers organization, to organize ourselves. We're gonna have to do the work. And that's, I think it's important to remember, the solution doesn't sit outside of us. It sits with us as fishers, getting organized, getting together with others, and building power for ourselves. So I just want to make that clear because maybe we end up asking too much of our jury members. I see there is let's take an end there, and then we come back to Jeremiah, and then we move to the next question.
Mantatel Tuba, this Bulseda Nam.
You can.
Igama lami ndingufana ndiphuma eNovelspont.
His name is Fana, he is from Novelspont.
Benifuna uthi gqaphu kula mba impact.
I would like to say, or I would like to comment on an issue of an impact.
Isichaphazela njani into yethu yokuba singabi na access yokuloba? Izisa indlala okokuqala.
For us, not being denied fishing, it brings poverty to the community.
Inyusa nezinga le crime.
It increases crime level.
Njani? Otata abavumelekanga ukuba bayoloba. Baphele behlala endlini.
If you deny people to fish, it means therefore they will be sitting at home.
Into enzekayo ngoku kuya abantwana. Njengoba Elvis ebesechilo ukuba sinendawo ezi-risky too much.
As older generation is prevented from fishing, now young people are the ones who fish now who go and fish. And then the previous speaker did mention that there are areas which are too dangerous for one to fish at.
If kuya abantwana, one izasichaphazela ngokuba sizawuluza abantwana.
Now that the young people are going to fish, it means therefore that we are to lose younger generation.
Besinendawo besiloba kuyo iwash bank.
We used to fish at an area called Wash
Bank Lodge.
Bank Lodge, okay.
Besihamba apha cala kwamanzi sikwazi uloba. Umzekelo nali igqili besikwazi uhamba apha sine access ukuba singene silobe apha. But ngoku into enzekayo umlungu wewash bank thathe ucingo lwakhe right from the mountain walifaka phakathi emanzini saphela singena access yongena. Ngoku lonto ebangela uba masiriske ngobomi bethu siyohlala phansi kwebridge apho singayiva khona isiren ye water ye water affairs of Eskom xa igenerator amanzi.
In the past, we will walk and fish free, like so easily along the river bank. But now that there's a new lodge owners who came, and then what they did, they extended their yard boundaries to the extent that it reaches now the river. So now we're not able to walk there where we used to walk because of the fence. Now that has resulted to us now fishing at a dangerous spot, because now we have to go down to the river. And then the problem when we are down there at the river, the bell, when the warning bell rings, you are not able to hear when the bell rings in order for us to get out of the river before the high volume of water reaches the point where we are.
Ndithetha nje ndingomnye wabantu ndake ndaphantsi uvaleleka pha.
I'm one of the people of which who has luckily to get out before the high volume of water got to an area where I was fishing.
Into bendicela besicela nje access kwezi ndawo singasakwazi ungena kuzo.
Yeah, like,
ayikho nje enye into.
Yeah, he's adding to what Mpundo was saying earlier. What we need is just to have an access in areas where we would want to fish from.
Clarence, is it because we do need to finish the session very briefly, please?
Thank you. I just like to say something when the professor was speaking about the limitation and access distance, the impact. For me, first of all, this limited access, the access fee, it's a problem for me, because if everyone who's working in this room have to pay to enter their working places, then it would be fine for me. So access fee must be it totally from the table. And also the limited access, it denies our children of of exposure, where white people have the privilege to take their children to areas and teach them what they have been taught. So that in itself is an impact for our community. Then there was this question that the professor was also speaking about the inland policy, the implementation of it. Is it already been implemented? Not yet. But what we can see the impact of it is the harassment, the denying of access, meaning it results into our communities not having proper nutrition, proper food at the end of the day. So that is how it impacts really us as species in the communities. Yes, and I also agree with Mr. Johnny when he speaks about the privatization. I know in some areas it's called the Dam Management Committee. It consists of different departments, which the leading department is the Department of Water and Sanitation. This platform is created for dam users to be part and parcel so that they can speak to the quality of the water, the leases that Carmen was speaking about, that the private guys are leasing all along the riverbanks. And our fisher communities are not aware of these platforms and how to utilize these platforms. So yeah, in short, I agree, we as fishers need to take control over the private, and we need to be part and parcel of that conversations. Thank you.
Thanks, Clarence. Milan, your hand was up.
Thank you. Can you hear?
Yes.
You can hear? Yeah, thank you very much for the testimonies. I want to pursue this issue of impacts a little bit more, right? So people were talking about some have to move their families because there is no more access. There is also loss of livelihood. So can we hear a little bit more about what is the impact on if you have to move, you lose your house, what is the impact of that? If you don't have access, you lose your livelihood, so what is the economic impact and the human impact on the family? Do you have to do other work? How do you access health services? How essentially, and somebody mentioned that there is more poverty. So what is the impact of that poverty? Essentially, how do you all survive? That's what we want to hear. And what are the challenges there? That's one question. And the second one was, if there is privatization all across the country, what do you think needs to be done to reverse that? Do you need more regulation from the government for the private actors? Is there something else more radical that has to be done? Is there any mention of reversing the negative impacts of privatization in the inland fisheries policy? What would you collectively propose? So these are the two questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Milan. Can I ask that is translated in Xhosa and Afrikaans, just so that that's fully understood?
Okay, so wat die jury gevra het is dat as ons sê dat die impakte van die struggles veroorsaak poverty. Wat beteken dit vir jou en jou familie wanneer jy sê daar's poverty in jou gemeenskap of in jou huishouding? As ons nou sê dat jy kan nie access hê, jy kan nie access hê en jy kan nie vis vang nie, en jy verloor jou huis byvoorbeeld, watter tipe impak sal dit dan hê op jou familie? So wat die jury basis wil weet is dat ons moet 'n bietjie dieper delf om te praat rondom die impakte. Hoe dit vir jou persoonlik invloed, hoe dit jou familie beïnvloed, hoe dit jou gemeenskap beïnvloed. Dankie.
Ek is jammer, ek wil net byvoeg, daar was nog 'n gedeelte by die vraag. Die ander gedeelte was, okay, so hoe impak jou familie en hoe kry jy toegang tot dienste en hoe oorleef jy? En wat is die uitdagings? So jy oorleef, maar wat is jou uitdagings? En dan die ander gedeelte van die vraag is, aangesien dan alles nog geprivatiseer word, hoe sien julle, hoe moet dit reverse word? Hoe kan dit, hoe wil julle dit graag omkeer?
Ngandiyibambe ncakasana but isikakhulu apha isaya kulaa nto yolomthelela into utatana azama ukuza kuyo uba ngaba ifuthe elithi ilenze le nto lithini kakhulu ne? Then kwakhona apha abantu bathetha ngokuba kukhona abantu babucala basakhumbula apha khona abantu abathetha ngabantu ababucala abatheni abondisileyo uthatha nabo umhlaba lona abantu abajonge ukuba ngaba bangawufikelela besebenzisa okanye loo jariti okanye loo yadi ithe yavala apho ne? Ingathi ebelapha but kandimve kakhulu inkosi but isikakhulu sithi apha indlala eziswa ekhaya malibeke nje njalo manje kakhulu ukhona umuntu ovileyo kandinceda tukwana kandimve ncakasana iza kuthi
Molweni, umbuzo zama ubuza uba niphulukana nantoni ngenxa yale mithetho ikhoyo ungenelela kwabantu abathenga umhlaba. Zintoni niphulukene nazo? Mhlawumbi uphulukene nendlu yakho, mhlawumbi uphulukene nenkcubeko yakho, njalo njalo. So bafuna ukwazi ncakasane into yobana ungabikho komsebenzi kuchaphazela njani. Mhlawumbi abantwana bayeke isikolo, into ezinjalo, okanye ke kwasweleka abantu begula ngenxa yongabikho kwemali, ikati leleziko, njalo njalo. So ufuna ke ningene nzulwanyana kumthelela okanye indlela ichaphazeleke ngayo.
Thanks. So, I mean, just to give an example, I see, Mr. Nchoko, also we do need to close this session. For example, I've worked with the inland communities for many years. That's when I started the Masipundisa. And many times what I heard the fishers saying is, there isn't future here for our children. So we are seeing a lot of migrations from these communities area to bigger cities, where then people are often finding themselves living in conditions that are, for example, in informal settlement, or struggling still to find job. Another impact or another thing that I have heard so many times from the same communities, both in Gariep but also in Vanderkloof, for example, is how social illness like alcohol abuse, drug use becomes a way to deal with the situations. And of course, putting food on the table being an everyday challenge, trying to work out how to put food on the table. I think the jury I know these are also things that are difficult to stand up and mention and say it in so many words, but I think the jury, you must remember, guys, they don't have visited your communities. So it's good that it's important that we also really explain what every day looks like in our communities. So I do want to go back to Jeremiah on this one, and then Mr. Nchoko will come to you.
If you study the history of our town, in the past, referring to the apartheid era, there was no uprising of the community against the nature reserve. No such a thing. The community was happy. I'm not embracing the apartheid, but I must say that there are some things which was good, because we as fishers never had a challenge with access. We didn't have that challenge. We were given access to all our traditional fishing sites. The gates were not locked. We as a community were respected. We were even given locks to put your lock on the chain. So if you want to go to the river, you can go whenever you want to. So always when you go to Venterstad or to Novaspond, we have the same chair because they are fishing on the same river as us. In their area, I think it was deliberately done by the agency to put buffaloes there. Before they came up with this idea, they should have engaged with the community first in order to hear from them, or at least to get some input from their side. It's very easy for them to go and fish there. There's a fence there. They must just renew the fence, and if they renew, then the buffaloes will be kept outside that area. It can then be zoned for a fishing area for the Novaspond site, because they were fishing there. Even people from Venterstad went there to fish. Sometimes they were coming to our site. But now they cannot fish totally. And in terms of the impact is bad. I've mentioned it earlier, and I like what Carmen said in terms of people relocating. We were having one of the best rugby schools, specifically in Venterstad and Novaspond area, even soccer teams. But because of unemployment and the denial of access to the river, they must go away. Then we have children there who are becoming poachers. Then nature reserve does not belong to the community, in fact, because government is the custodian of it. But government cannot even protect. They don't protect. They don't even care about the fisheries that is flowing inside that river. Now, our children, they go and hunt overnight. They work overtime. During the day, you will see them walking up and down the street with porcupines. Porcupines is almost endangered species now. I mean, even we as fishers are concerned, because now our future generation will not be able to see a porcupine. It will be extinct, because the children must provide now for themselves. And the other thing is stock theft. We have small-scale farmers. They cannot farm. They are struggling to make a living, because when they buy animals or cattle and sheep, then it's been stolen. Even during the day, they steal the cattle and sheep. They don't play, because people want to make a living. And let us be fair. Even me, I'm honest today. If there's nothing in my house, no food, and my children looks at me and they're hungry, I'm going to take your sheep and I'm going to slaughter it, because my children cannot go to bed on an empty stomach. I'm not a hypocrite. I have a responsibility towards my children. I will not allow my children to go to bed without having food. And then there's a high rate of divorce. If we as men cannot support our wife, it's never a woman's vision to take a man who cannot provide for her. There's no dignity in that kind of marriage or relationship. A woman just
Jeremiah, you are out of here, but also we, like in terms of the live stream, but also we need to wrap up.
Okay, yes. A woman some women are feeling very embarrassed to get in a relationship with a man who cannot provide. Yes, I'm gonna wrap up. And then, because of the denying of access, of free access, because we want free access, we are cultivating high or uneducated generation, because children don't want to go to school. Sometimes when I go and visit the schools, the teachers reports to me that the children cannot focus. Remember, if you have an empty stomach, you cannot focus. Your whole thinking shifts to your mind. Yeah. So it's bad. The impact is bad. All we want is that give us free access. Then we will take it from there. Yeah. This is our main demand. Thank you.
It is 12 o'clock. Mr. Nchoko, is what you want to say very urgent? Because otherwise I suggested we do close this session and we come back. So maybe just translate that for him.
Funeka ube mphutshane okanye ke sivale le ndawo siphinde ubuye xa sesibuya lo mba wakho. Okay. No, he will speak in the afternoon.
Okay,
Sure.
great, thank you. So I think let's close this session for now, and we take a half an hour break. So because it's supposed to rain, even though I see the sun, but this is Cape Town, 4 seasons in one day. We have moved the tea upstairs, and we also will have lunch upstairs, because if it rains, then it's too much to go up and down. So please also be patient in terms of there is a little space, and then you can go outside to enjoy your tea. Let's come back by 12:30. Thanks.